you have that fear of being watched all the time. So you can do no wrong and you just have to do. And as you said, you have no other option. You have to do the right thing. Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Parenthood. I'm your host, Neha Garg, and every week we bring you real stories from incredible parents navigating the multifaceted worlds of family, work, and self discovery. It's all about those authentic experiences, the highs, the lows, and the in betweens that shape us into the parents we are today. Today's episode is special. We have with us Amita Malhotra, a remarkable entrepreneur and founder of Equal Sports. But beyond that, a passionate advocate for gender inclusivity and a fierce believer in challenging societal norms. Amita's journey is a beautiful example of how life as a parent can inspire not only personal growth, but also professional innovation. From creating awareness on gender stereotypes with equality to her recent venture with Equal Sports, Amita's entrepreneurial journey is intricately linked to her experience as a mother. It's fascinating to see how her parenting has shaped her vision and the causes she has chosen to champion. Amita is married to Rajesh Lalwani, a pioneer in digital marketing, and together they are parents to the bright and talented Tarini, who's already a young athlete and a voracious reader. There is so much to learn from Amita's story, from how she and Rajesh balance their deep and layered relationship to how they raise Tarini with values of gender awareness, resilience, and strength. Today, we'll dive into Amita's world, her professional journey, her personal life, and how the two are constantly intertwined in beautiful ways. So let's get started. Amita, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you, Neha, and thank you for such a warm introduction. Really grateful.
Thank you. And to start off, let's get to know you a little bit better through your own eyes. If you had to describe yourself using just three words or phrases, what would they be and why do they resonate with you?
Um, so I think I would say I'm very childlike.
Uh huh.
That's one quality about me. So my daughter laughs because I actually have a thing for colorful things,
Wow.
bright, shiny objects. She would say, "Mom, usually it's parents who are dragging their children out of toy stores. In our case, it's the other way around because something catches your fancy and you're kind of." So I think I'm childlike in that sense. Um, and part of the childlike, the other thing is humor.
Uh
uh,
huh.
so I'm 90s child in the sense, so there was Bollywood, there was a lot of copying of the West. So we've listened to both the versions of it, the originals and the copied versions, and we can kind of dabble both of them. So I think humor, fun, Bollywood has played a role in influencing the kind of person I am. And I would say a loving person, a lover of other people. I love people. you know
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
when I was young, I would actually say this, that I want to travel the world through people, because
Wow.
you don't just travel by physically going to places. You can
Wow.
actually travel through people's stories, their experiences. So I think those are things that kind of describe me.
Wow. Wow. And you spoke about Bollywood. So let me flip the question that I generally ask. I ask about, if your life was a storybook, what would be its title? But let me ask you this. If your life was a movie, what would be its title? And which part of that movie are you living currently?
Um, hmm, that's a tough one. What movie? Um, I would I would say Jio or Jeene Do.
Nice. Nice.
Or something about actually my one of my teachers had gifted a painting that she had made, and I loved it. It said, "You are enough,"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that's something that resonates deeply with me, because I have in my growing up years experienced a lot of self doubt. On the outside, I would come across as extremely confident, I would still probably meet some schoolmate in the park, and they would say, "We remember you. You were a debater. You would be on stage, and you were this very confident." But deep inside me, like I've had my share of doubts, vulnerabilities, and yeah, I'm just over the years now navigating and coming to the point of acceptance of who I am and embracing, uh,
Yeah.
every aspect of who I am.
I love how reflective you are, Amita. Each chapter of life, I think, is truly unique, and you kind of embody that I think spirit. And speaking of chapters, let's move into one of I think the most significant chapters for you, your family. And speaking of family, you and Rajesh have built such a deep relationship over the years, from the little that I got to know of you, and now you have Tarini. Could you tell us a little about your family life? How did you and Rajesh meet, and how has your relationship evolved over time? And especially now that you are navigating parenthood together.
Yeah. Yeah. So how I met Rajesh is yeah, quite a fantastic story. It also shifted for me when I was in college. We used to have, I was studying English literature, and there was this theme of will versus destiny. That
Mhm.
And I was always on the side of will to say bullshit destiny, like you make things. Destiny is only people who are making excuses
Yeah,
for, things that don't go their way. And I think many experiences that happened in my life kind of taught me, and that was the kind of journey towards maturity where
yeah.
I realized that there is a thing called destiny.
Hmm.
So I studied communication in Pune, and communication, like you would know, is actually very female dominated. There are more women in it than men. There were probably two guys in my class. I never really expected to meet my work partner, like my life partner at work, because
Uh-huh.
there's so few men,
Yeah,
So when I took up my first job, which was at a public relations agency, and Rajesh was already there. He was a very senior partner over there, and I was just joining as a young person. And I was actually in a training center, so we were going through a training at that point of time. And then what would happen is for 2 months you would train, and then you would go to the workplace. So it was a
yeah.
full 1 year program like that. So at that time, the CEO of our company had started a blog.
Mm.
And I went and just put out a comment because, I was new from college, didn't really have a sense of
Yeah,
hierarchy.
yeah.
You're just putting out what you want to. And I asked some questions, I think, about how does the individual maintain their sense of autonomy, contribute to an institution, and still not get. And there were just, I think, probably three people who had commented on that blog. One was the head of the Delhi branch, the other was Rajesh, and the third was me. And Rajesh saw that. And he would later tell me that I thought, like, this girl, either she is very foolish or she's very brave to be, to be doing this. So when I joined in at work, Rajesh asked for the Delhi head branch to kind of introduce us.
Yeah.
He was just curious to meet who this person is. And I remember we shook hands and he said, "May you find answers to all your questions."
Uh-huh.
And that's how we met. And we were not on the same team, we were not working together, but I think just some conversation happened and we connected. And why I said about destiny was because I think I joined in, let's say, in June at office. And I think by week 2 or week 3, Rajesh had put in his papers. So
Oh,
it was just a matter of 2 weeks. If I had still been in the training center, I would have never met him.
yeah.
And I saw him. I mean, he was respected as a professional. So I remember when I heard news that he had put in his papers, I just kind of, like, I remember there was this big meeting room, and I walk in and I just ask him, "Why are you leaving?" From a sense of saying that I wasn't romantically interested or
Yeah.
anything. I was just curious to say that, okay, here are 5 people who I kind of respect in this organization. This is one of them. Why is this person leaving? And he was kind of
Taken
taken
back.
aback because he wasn't actually like so seen as a very, how do I say, not the most accessible, or maybe people
Mhm.
were scared of him or some such thing.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how I think we started speaking, and yeah, I think that was that was the start of yeah, our relationship.
And how has it evolved over the years? How is it like from being work partners to life partners and now to parents together?
And we've been work partners all through. So after
Okay.
after we got married, I was at the same agency for a year or so. And then I think the other common thing which binds us is our interest at work.
Yeah.
So new media was just coming into being. Blogs were becoming the mainstay. There was nothing called social media. The word did not exist at that point of time. Um, I was very interested in that space. I had my little blog at that point of time, and Rajesh started what was at that point of time in 2007, 2008, one of India's first social media consulting firms.
Hmm.
And that time, people really didn't know how this is going to work. Facebook did not have pages, Facebook had groups.
Yeah.
Twitter had a handful of people on it. You know, you could literally count the number of people in India who were on Twitter. So that was the space. And he was someone who was evangelizing social media in a big way, telling brands that you no longer are going to be speaking to your customers through media. Media is not going to be an intermediary in that sense. You will be able to speak directly to your customers, and that's going to fundamentally change marketing,
Yeah.
which was very exciting for me. Only hitch was I was not very keen actually to work with my spouse, because I
Yeah.
was like, you're going to be at home together and at work together. But when we would be in the car together, I would listen to him speaking with his team. They were working on Fast Track at that point of time. They were doing a biking community for Fast Track. They were doing a lifestyle community. All of this was happening on Facebook groups. They were working with live journal,
Hmm.
which is something that's
Yeah.
documented in the movie Facebook as well. So very exciting work, and I was like, I have to do this, because I was trying to do it at my workplace, but things were different,
Yeah.
and that's how I kind of jumped in. And for it was a roller coaster. I think we had fantastic time working together, because it was a new space. We were among the first early people who were talking about this. So everything that you were doing was for the first time, so you
Yeah.
were really, really setting the tone of that. So we worked for years together, and later after Tarini also, when I kind of launched my own ventures, Rajesh has always been, a part of my journey. He's very, very supportive. We fight a lot, we argue a lot, but yeah, I think we are kind of stitched together every which way. I mean, not just in life, but I think in the work. And for us, it's kind of intermeshed together.
Yeah, yeah, it's so lovely to hear about that because I think that's quite aspirational for a lot of people, working together with spouses and it doesn't really work out. Like I can say from my own experience, me and my husband can't see eye to eye when it comes to work. We have tried so many times and we've just decided nahi tum apna karo main apna karungi type and let's just stay cordial and let's not get into these kind of fights. There are multiplicities of it any which way, but it's so heartening to hear about your journey with Rajesh, Amita. But tell me, what is Tarini like? She's 9 now, is she? Yeah, and what parts of her personality like probably bring you the most joy as a parent? What is she like as a person?
So she's a very mature person right from the beginning. There is something innate about her. One thing that I really enjoy about her, which kind of defines her, is that in India we tend to say, "Oh, this child, ye iske papa jaisa hai, ye iske mama jaisa hai, ye iske." So we are always constantly looking for us, and the other people are looking for us in our children.
Yeah.
And she was very young when she would say, and she still kind of says that. She says, "I'm like myself."
How beautiful is that?
Yes. And when I hear that, I kind of encourage her for that also, that you may take parts from people. But
Yeah.
I think that's the struggle that all of us go through our entire lives, just being true to who we are, because we're constantly being told to aspire to be like somebody else, to constantly feel that we're not enough. that, if we were different, we would be superior. So I think just that emotion of saying, I'm happy who I am. I'm not mommy, I'm not papa, I'm Tarini,
Yeah.
I really like that about her.
Yeah, this is so wonderful to hear. And talking about home, do you and Rajesh have a family motto or some kind of a rule which is there and serves as a foundation in your household to keep things grounded?
Um, I think we have a set of shared values,
Mm.
uh, and they're unsaid. I think they're just something common between us. Um, so I think respect for, people all around. I mean, we have uh, staff at home, um, and the love and respect that she has for the didi and for the auntie, who are like mother figures for her. I think that's kind of something that's very important to us, to teach our children to not look at people transactionally but as human beings.
Yeah,
So I think I would say that's one of them.
yeah.
um, and it's not as if we look eye to eye on
Every,
everything. We're also very different people. And the other thing I have to say about Rajesh is that he's not a typical guy at
mm,
all. So I've been into conversations where a lot of my girlfriends would be sitting together and saying, he's so dirty, he doesn't pick up his laundry, and he's always watching TV. That
yeah,
typical gendered view of how a man, Rajesh, does not fit it from anywhere. In fact, it is always the opposite. I am the one who's being told,
yeah,
कि bhai, like we have to have things like more,
yeah.
uh, sorted, etc. Um, in many other ways too, that in funny ways that society expects you. For example, he's a vegetarian or he's a teetotaler,
Yeah.
and so if I go to a party, like once I laughed at someone for that, to say, someone would expect, they wouldn't ask me. I'm like, so he doesn't eat or he doesn't drink would not always mean that I don't do that either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that. So he's very hands on, with things, um, in every which way. I think he's a better cook than I am. So, what I enjoy about my relationship, which I value from the time that I met him, is also that it's not broken on those typical gendered lines of what it typically means a guy does or a
Yeah.
woman
Yeah, yeah, that's so wonderful to hear, Amita, because I think that's something that we strive to build in a conventional relationship. Because most of the time, what happens is generations, our women of our generation are, so to say, empowered, and the men have been left behind somewhere. Generally, that's how the system is. So in most of the relationships we find that the women are always playing catch up, trying to get the men on the same level as them. But it's so heartwarming to see that you have that kind of equation with Rajesh, where you can operate on the levels that you create for yourself, not that the society has created for you. But also, let's talk a little about your rich career that you've had and you are having currently also, Amita. And I think your experiences, you also said that your experiences as a parent seem to be so deeply tied in your professional journey, especially talking of equality and equal sports. And equal sports, I know it's been a passion project for you. How did the idea came about? How has your experience being a parent influenced this decision to create this venture?
Yeah. So it's not something that I had planned, and it's happened again very organically, just like it did with equality. At that point of time, when I started equality, Tarini was, I think, about 2 or 3. And as a young parent, I was experiencing a lot of gender stereotypes. Even if you go out and you try to buy, uh, certain kind of T-shirt, you notice that only for boys there were a lot of action figures and action orientation, whereas for girls it was all about beauty and being pretty and appearance. And that struck me, and I think that was the reason how I started equality as a gender cool brand, to offer an alternative
Yeah,
to very gendered um, apparel or representation, also to kind of bring attention to the fact that uh, we talk about equality later at work and so much money is being pumped in, but it all starts very young with the kind of attitudes that we encourage. And even about equal sports, so how it all started was Tarini's been learning golf now for
Yeah.
a couple of years, and Rajesh actually leads pretty much in terms of her training schedule. And it started because he loves playing golf, so he was
Uh-huh.
very keen. He was very keen for her to kind of take on a sport. And I think as parents on that journey, we saw kind of gaps where I think one of the things that has changed also is of how parenting happens. That in a few generations ago, parents were not in that sense very hands-on. So you would
Yeah.
have uh, like even when we were growing up, our parents were involved to an extent, and after that it was left to us. Or let's say if you were into a pursuit, it was left to the coach.
Yeah.
They weren't really involved in the training or the progress and all of that. So I realized that parenting has changed. Parents are very hands-on. Parents want to know. Parents want to be involved,
Yeah.
but they don't always have access to the information.
Yeah.
Information is also disaggregated. People want to start into sports, but they have fundamental questions: which sport should I take up,
Yeah.
right? If I take up golf, uh, should I buy the equipment? Should I have a coach? At what age should I play tournament? And later, even as they grow from a basic to an intermediate level, to say, okay, should I go in for the collegiate golf, or should I play? Should I? When do I turn a pro?
Yeah.
So many questions, and the information is fairly disaggregated, and that kind of became a cue for me with Equal Sports to say that we need to have a platform where we can give access on these very fundamental questions, to give information, resources to parents as well as aspiring athletes
Mm.
on things that can help them succeed in their sporting journey.
Yeah, yeah. So how far in your journey are you now, building this brand, and what is happening?
Yeah. So I think it's still early days for me, because I started 2 months back.
You did 2 months back?
Yes, actually July. So we are in September
Yeah,
now. So
September. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the first thing that I've started with is this podcast called Raising an Athlete,
Yeah.
which again is an endeavor to create resources for parents, to say you listen into the journey of athletes, coaches, sports psychologists, nutritionists, and all kind of other sporting experts, to tell you what it takes to
Yeah.
succeed in your journey. Um, because I think one, there is a need for role models. So, for example, the last episode I did was with Dinidhi, who's been, she's a 14-year-old youngest swimmer from India to represent us in Paris Olympics.
Yeah.
And for just kids to be able to see a role model like that, and again, power of stories. She speaks about how she was 6 and she was so scared to be in a pool, and I find it like mind boggling that from 6 to 14, in just about 7 years of time, someone could overcome their fears. And we've all, a lot of us have been there.
Yeah.
You've been on a swimming pool. I've been there as a child, scared to get into it, or my daughter's been there. And to know that you can overcome that, and so the power of stories to kind of communicate to that. So the podcast is the first step. The other thing that is happening is we are launching workshops and courses. We have our first workshop on the 5th of October, which is on sports psychology for parents. Because again, another thing that I realized was parents play such an important role, because uh, in terms of the attitudes and beliefs, the mental mindset of an athlete is also coming a lot from what the parent is telling them. And if the parent themselves is, let's say, in a space of anxiety, which inevitably happens in today's highly hyper competitive time, where the parent is constantly saying that, you got to do it. And like, I actually heard someone say, I thought it was beautiful, that children are the biggest vanity project in
Yeah.
today's time, or the biggest luxury product that exists, because for parents, that is a representation of, their success in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Puts immense amount of pressure, and can actually often take away kids from the very endeavor that they had taken up. So
Yeah.
this workshop is actually, I mean, not sports psychology for athletes, but first for parents to say, how are you kind of, what are the attitudes, behavior, how are you communicating with your young ones? And we're planning more in the coming months.
Nice. And if Tarini were to describe you, what do you do at work? What do you think she'd say? Does she have her own take on what you do?
Yeah, I think uh, sometimes, you know how children imitate. So I remember when I was doing equality, and I have this very cute, so she was maybe 4 or 5, and she did a little podcast recording with me or something, where she was asking me questions about what I do. So the night conversation, when you're
Yeah,
with your child,
yeah,
turned into a podcast conversation that was happening. So she knows about the work that I've done with equality. She was very young, but uh, at that time, I used to also do a lot of outreach programs. So, for example, we would be at these exhibitions. So I
yeah.
remember being at Kala Ghoda in
Uh-huh.
Bombay, and she
Yeah.
was very young, but she was very excited by the idea of being an assistant. So
Mm-hmm.
on equality, she constantly even says, "Let me know any help that you need. You want me to man a stall or anything, I'd be available." So, and even with equal sports, she watches and she gives her input. She would sometimes see some content being created, and she'd give her inputs on that. So yeah, she's
I
aware.
Yeah, I think I just love how kids see things. Sometimes they have the best perspective, you know. They'll just say anything, and we have so many filters, and they will just say something, and it'll be like, "Wow, I didn't see it like that." So it's so good to hear that she has a voice, she has things to say about what you do. And going to your journey as a parent, Amita, can you take us back to the moment when you first became a mother? What were some of the most significant moments that shaped your journey as a mother?
Yeah. Yeah, that's been another amazing story. So I want to talk about from the time when I conceived,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, first, I was, I think, very scared, and just very apprehensive of the pain that's going to come my way. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go in for a cesarean, and I'm just going to say, like, just do it and get it done with. I can't handle the pain. And then I heard about uh, the benefits of natural pregnancy. So sometimes I think our generation also ends up being very intellectual or academic, and we become very obsessive compulsive,
Yeah,
which is good because you have information by your side. And I've heard my mother say that. She said, look, you guys can do a lot because you have access to a lot of information, which
right.
we do. If you have a question, whether you go on a group of peer mothers, etc., or the internet, even if it's giving you an approximation of, but you have some way of validating what you're thinking. So I would say that I think it was helpful also. Um, so I took on these natural birthing classes,
Mm.
and now I was completely focused or obsessed about, I had to make sure that I have a natural pregnancy. So I was doing these prenatal yoga classes. I was still at work, so I would do one set after my work and one set once I would reach home. So did all of, enjoyed it also. I think I had
Yeah.
a great time. And I had a very smooth pregnancy.
Mhm.
Um, I remember, I think in my fourth month or fifth month, also wondering, am I really pregnant? Because, there's a time when it's really not showing, and
Yeah.
uh, you're really wondering. And there were no signs. There was nothing that I was experiencing.
Yeah.
And it was only those monthly checks
Yeah.
when you'd be assured that all things are good, etc. And I worked till the end. And I'm sure mood swings would have happened, and I may not have noticed. I only noticed on one occasion. I was nearly, I think, almost reaching the 9 months, and I'm at work. And I remember there was a graphic designer on our team, and he did something, and I was like, this is not okay, and we need to rework this. And he says, I'm taking a lunch break, and I think I must have yelled at him to say, I am pregnant, I am not eating, this is a priority, you leave your food and you do this. And then I later realized, what's wrong with me? Like, that's a moment I caught myself to say that, yeah, I think the
Hormones are
hormones
kicking in.
are getting the better of me. I did apologize to him. Um, and I think so. The birth story of the time when Tarini was born. So our hospital was a little far off from our house, and one of Rajesh's cousins lived near the hospital. So the plan was that once we get some kind of signs, we'll probably at least go, because the last thing we want is to be stuck in a traffic jam and never reach the hospital, right? So in the morning, when I sensed that I had pains, and I'm obsessed with washing my hair every day. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that once I reach the hospital. So even in immense pain, I just kind of took a bath first, because I was like, the hair needs to be washed. And then we left early, and we were at his cousin's place. And I remember I was walking, I was kind of very uncomfortable. And I remember my mom calling, and she's trying to tell me that, like, don't go too early to the hospital. And that had been my philosophy also, basically, that don't go early to the hospital. They will give you the injection, and then there'll be a operation that will be done. Um, so I was hanging around, and then I was in too much pain. I was not being able to sit on the bed also. And I remember we were told you're supposed to count the number of contractions that come. And I was counting, and they were like 4 seconds apart. I was like, this makes no sense. Even when we were in the car, it can't be. It hasn't been that long. So maybe
Yeah,
we're calculating it wrong or something.
yeah.
Um, so finally, I said, okay, I'm sure Sham tak to it will happen. So let me go to the hospital now.
Yeah.
So we went, and I remember walking, and it was chaotic, and no one's really still paying attention. And suddenly I felt like a kick or something I felt. And then I raised an alarm, and then somebody came and checked, and they were like, oh my God, like, you're fully
Dilated.
dilated.
Yeah.
And what were you waiting for? Like, you wanted to have the kid at your home or something? So I was like, oh. So then I remember a wheelchair came, and then they like rushed me inside. And Rajesh went to pay the fee at the hospital, just to submit the amount. And I remember I would tell my mother, she gave me this handbag with all the clothes and everything. I said, Are, you're going to be there. Why are you giving me this bag? She's like, no, no, you keep it with you. And I think we must have reached the hospital at, let's say, 11:15. We had
Mhm.
walked in at 11:15, and 11:45 they took me inside, and I think Tarini was born 12:20 or 12:25. So and I remember the doctor saying, congratulations, you have a girl. And I was like, it's happened. So the one lesson that I've learned, which I share with all new parents, is not gyan of whether to wait, not to wait, with expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
I expected, because I heard stories of people who have very long labor. I
Yeah.
expected to be there for 2 days. I never expected that things can be faster as well.
Yeah.
Uh, and it scared me a bit also to say that, it's just something that I hadn't factored in.
Yeah.
But like, I'm very grateful, because overall it was a very, very comfortable pregnancy. And yeah, like, even the way she came in, and sometimes I joke with her, because sometimes she's rushed and in a hurry. I'm like, from the time you're born, you're in a hurry.
Yeah. and and talking about the transformational, aspects of this journey, in what ways has your life shifted since becoming a parent? Do you feel like you're still the same person, or have your perspectives and priorities changed?
Yeah, I think in some ways I'm the same, and in some ways I have grown. So again, in the initial years, I spoke about lack of confidence, and sometimes the lack of confidence can reflect in every aspect of your journey, right? So when I was a young mother, I basically had been scared of the idea of looking after a child.
Yeah.
Only, they're so small. How do you
Yeah.
hold them? How do you bathe them? I was kind of intimidated by that. I have to say, I remember crying with a school friend, and I was telling him that, the time there used to be a help who would come and give a massage to
Yeah,
me and
yeah.
then bathe my child. I told him, I said, I am terrified that I think she is so small. I will never be able to bathe her. So
Hmm.
he, and even that is amazing, so he's not someone who's married, he's not a girl, but sometimes you can have those relationships with friends. I remember, and he still teases me to the day, where he could counsel me and he could give me the, just the confidence and the
Yeah,
assurance. Say, it will be fine, you feel like that, and like she grows, you will grow as well. So I
yeah,
feel like, we are also born as parents the day our child is born,
yeah,
and we kind of pick up those skills of, looking after them. So I feel like that has happened, gain more confidence in, my own ability as a parent. And there are some aspects of being a parent which have come naturally, which is the emotional aspects of it, with, just having fun together, just, spending time together, playing together. So that's
yeah,
something we really enjoyed.
yeah. And where in your life do you feel like parenthood has helped you expand the most?
Hmm. Where has parenthood helped expand the most? I'm trying to think. Um, I think there've just been so many dimensions to it. I would kind of link it to the very, very deep sense of personhood of who I am,
Hmm.
uh, that it's contributed to. Uh, and I'm linking it back to uh, confidence and self esteem and believing in yourself, to say that you have it in yourself to uh, look after yourself and look after people that you love. Uh, so I would say it's kind of expanded for me the very core of who I am and what I can do.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's such a beautiful expression of, I think how a person's life can be expanded and recalibrated in a way once you become a parent. Their own hidden or tacit qualities come into the fore, and you realize, or
Yeah.
you bloom into the person that you are, very, very truly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think what they say is, so one thing that I've enjoyed about parenting is the fact that I just feel it gives you another chance to life.
yeah.
Uh,
How beautiful is that?
so you can go back, and there are so many experiences that you get to do because you have a child.
Yeah,
Things you would otherwise probably not do, the kind of music or art or other things. So just a chance to go back and even I would say the boring things like factors and multiples. I was
yeah.
in grade four. I wouldn't understand HCF and LCM, and then I decided to just forget all about it. And then I go back and I not only visit, not only am I sitting with my grade four daughter, I'm also sitting with me as a grade four kid
Yeah,
and looking at HCF, LCM with new eyes.
yeah,
And hopefully realizing that sometimes you just need to ask to understand things, that you left things without asking or without really understanding them. So in that sense, yes, I really feel like it gives you a second chance. And the other thing I want to speak about is the fact that uh, in parenting, it's, and I'm sure there are some proverbs which say things like that, it's not about what you say, it's what you do. And
mm,
that is the hardest part,
yeah,
because we can constantly tell our children कि ऐसे करो वैसे करो, but they are like sponges and they're absorbing us. And if you are lazy and you
yeah,
expect your child to be super active, ain't gonna happen. They're watching you. So it means you have to be aware of responsibility also in that sense.
yeah,
Responsibility not only in the sense of caregiving, that
yeah,
you need to pack their lunch and send them on time and or
yeah,
schedules like that, but responsibility also in the sense of saying that if I don't look after my health,
yeah,
or if I am not managing my emotions well, or if I am in a conflict situation with, let's say, her father, and she's watching us, you know,
Yeah.
how are we emerging from that situation because she's watching all of that. So I think
Yeah.
that's another aspect of parenting, that it does push you to become a better person,
Yeah.
uh, because there isn't really any other choice.
Yeah. I think in a way the kids become our moral compass, you just really you have that fear of being watched all the time, so you can do no wrong, and you just have to do, and as you said, you have no other option, you have to do the right thing. And yeah.
Even then, I think it is about embracing your vulnerabilities and kind
Yeah.
of sharing. I mean, you can't be perfect all the time, and you can't be like a model parent. You are going to be who you are, and sometimes you will speak in loud voices and then explain that okay, that I was having a moment, I was frustrated, and this happened. But that's also kind of teaching reflection to say, I'm looking at my behavior and it was not ideal. And sometimes that happens, but one tries. So
Yeah.
I think even with the moral compass, I think sometimes as parents, we tend to be too hard on ourselves also to
Yeah.
say, oh my God, like, ab maine ye kar diya, ab zindagi bhar ke liye, like
Huh.
this is the sensory impression that this child carries. But I think our children also need all kind. I mean, we have different sensory
Yeah.
impressions from
Yeah.
our childhood, things that we saw.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. Amita, now tell me, how do you carve time out for yourself amidst everything that you do? Are there some routines or activities that help you recharge?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I have to admit that again, I think I'm very privileged that I have support at home.
Yeah.
I've- we've had staff, which is really like our own family. They're an extension of us. They don't work with us full time, but I think that's a tremendous support that I've always had, which allows me to pursue other things that I may want to, beyond work also, if there are
Yeah.
things that I want to do. So I think in terms of routines, one is my own health and fitness, which I have struggled through over years. Like there've been phases I exercise and then it's all gone. And then especially I remember after Tarini's, like I stopped breastfeeding her and I gained lots of weight and I had thyroid. So I've gone through that journey, but I've realized how health and fitness matters. So I'm trying to make sure that I prioritize that. So in the morning, I go in for my gym class or aerobics class, and even there, I met this aerobics teacher. She's I think 65 now.
Oh.
She's very very like I find her very inspiring because, and it was Teachers Day recently, and I was telling her that, Auntie, you know what I. In you, I saw that when we grow older, like when I was young, I used to think, okay, this is morbid. We are all going to just grow old and infirm and die. In you, I see that there is a choice,
Yeah.
that if you look after yourself in terms of your body, in terms of your thoughts, uh, there is an alternative to
Yeah.
how things can be. Here's a very fit 65-year-old, and I'm kind of struggling with my push ups, but
Yeah.
she's so good with it. So I think one is in terms of health and fitness, the other is in terms of my friendships. I think
Mhm.
that's something that really rejuvenates me. So I had two of these friends from my work, my first job,
Mhm.
and on my parenting journey, they also became like my guides and my counselors. And I remember we created like that time a WhatsApp group. It
Yeah.
was three, and um, Shilpa and Shalini, who were like dear friends. And I think the friendship that I've enjoyed with them as mothers, and so we
Yeah.
would meet together, we would go out together, and Shalini lives in France, which means that we don't always have too much time together. So that's one set of friends, and then there are some friends from college. I remember the first solo trip that I took was when Tarini was 5, 2020. January, we were meeting a couple of friends in Goa just for a weekend, but it was a very big deal for me to
Yeah.
go by myself. And I remember I wrote a letter for Tarini and I left it somewhere still there, but I felt like that it was important.
Yeah.
just space for myself with my friends, and also the message that you're giving to the child to say
Yeah.
that, mother doesn't mean this whole all sacrificial figure
Yeah.
who's always going to put herself in the end, because that's also a role model. And I've realized that so much of who you are is the conditioning that you have of looking at your parents
Yeah.
and who they were, and even things that you sometimes did not like, and
Yeah.
if you reflect and you're like, you're no different, you're doing it the same way.
Yeah.
So um, so yeah, I think, apart from taking out time for my health, I would say it's the time that I make to be with my friends, which really charges me up.
Beautiful. And they say it takes a village to raise a child, Amita. Who's in your village? Who are the people who you have leaned on over the years while on this journey?
Yeah, so I think, yeah, truly takes a village, and it's also in terms of the decision that you take of where you're going to live, uh,
Yeah.
and the factors that define. So we chose to stay in a part of Delhi where a lot of Rajesh's family is there,
Mhm.
and I mentioned that we do have very reliable staff with us. Uh, so between the two, I think it's been a great support, because if we need to be away for engagements longer than, let's say, the evening, there is a choice of Tarini being with family,
Yeah.
you know. So I think some of the family who lives close to us, and just, enjoying the bonds that we used to when we were kids,
Yeah.
which is like, at that point of time, if someone had made halwa, so
Yeah.
somebody would come drop halwa at your place, which is
Yeah.
very, or celebrating festivals together,
Yeah.
which in today's day and age has really gone away because of the distances, because people travel, really live overseas. So we have these little pockets of family who's living close to us, which means that, um, when we want, even on a weekday, like if we are bored in the evening or something, we're like, okay, let's go to Chacha's house, and
Yeah.
then you just have a good time over there. So I would say that yes, some of the family and the staff, of course, I think they've been a huge support. And some of the friends that I spoke about, just in terms of my own mental
Yeah.
wellness, just guiding me, because they've been ahead on the journey and sharing their own experiences.
Yeah.
Because, when you're in it, you're not able to see things clearly, whereas, those who are ahead of you can sometimes kind of guide you to say that, don't obsess about it.
Yeah.
Like, one lesson that I've learned, when I look back, and I think that, even this obsession of whether it should be a cesarean or
Yeah.
whether it's actually not, other than the fact that you can look after your health, which is in your hands, nothing is in your hands.
Yeah.
So instead of resisting and creating a very structured script for yourself of this is how things should be, you should just embrace how things happen.
Yeah, so beautiful. And uh, I am very interested because you have somewhere indicated that Tarini is very, very mature and very perceptive. So I want to know, Amita, is there something that Tarini has said or done in the recent times that has made you think, oh my God, I can't believe I raised such a wise little human?
I think she keeps doing it all the time. But I think one instance, which is or one anecdote, which is kind of special, is I think she was 5 or 6, and I was working on some plan or presentation. It was late in the evening, and I was struggling, and I think I was in tears to say that I'm not being able to do, and I have to submit, and this is not working out. And she used to watch some show called Daniel Tiger. Okay, and
Okay.
thankfully there are some good positive shows also on media now on TV, where there is like good ideas. So she says that, mom, you need to follow the 3 B's, which was take a break,
Mm-hmm.
uh, no, take a breath.
Take
So
a breath.
breathe. So I took a breath. I sat with her and we did this. Take a break. So we went out and sat in our balcony, and it was nice and windy and very refreshing. And she says, and the third B is you need to believe.
Wow.
Believe that you can do. So the 3 B's are take a breath, take a break, and believe. And I hugged her and I kissed her, and just it that moment was
Yeah.
like something for me. And truly, when I went back, I could actually finish that presentation because I was really
Yeah,
stuck.
yeah.
And I could finish it, and I could deliver it. And I think it was a very beautiful moment for me.
Wow, wow. I'm having goosebumps as we speak, Amita, and I think really what a wise little human being you have raised. And Amita, we are coming to a close of our conversation already. It doesn't seem like so much time has passed, but if you could go back and give advice to your pre-parent self, what would you say?
I would tell myself to take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, I would advise myself it's great to gather information, knowledge, but don't lose your sense of intuition,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's one thing that has happened with parenting in today's day and age, because everything is so data and so, the information out there. It's almost as if anything that comes from your heart or what you intuitively feel, you have to kind of not trust. So I think I was able to recalibrate at some point of time. And I think that's the advice I would give myself, to say, take it easy, take a breath, take a break, and believe.
Nice. And finally, if you could share one piece of advice with our listeners, something that encapsulates your parenting philosophy, maybe, what would it be and why?
So I feel very hesitant to, kind of give any advice, because it's just to say that, like I'm in a higher moral position or I have cracked something. I don't really feel like that. I think like every parent does to the best that they can. I would
Yes.
say that all of us can be more reflective of our actions. So sometimes we just need to look at how we are behaving, what we are doing, a sense of humility to say that we could be doing things differently, being more open to doing things differently, and yeah, I think really not trying to be anybody else but themselves. I think the true parent kind of emerges from that. Who are you as a person? Those being in touch with uh, the the loving parts of us, and being aware of maybe some of those negative parts of us, and yeah, constantly recalibrating. That's what I would say.
Nice, fantastic. Amita, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us today. From your thoughtful approach to parenting to the way you have infused your personal values into work, it's truly, truly inspiring. I'm sure our listeners will walk away with so many insights, especially around balancing work, life, parenting with intention and love. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you, Neha. It's really been a pleasure. I enjoyed speaking with you.
Thank you. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for joining us on this journey. I hope today's conversation with Amita has left you feeling inspired and reflective about your own parenting experiences. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other parents in your life. Your support helps us continue bringing these powerful stories to light. You can follow Amita's work through the links in the show notes, and if you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to reach out on our social media. Until next time, keep embracing the beautiful mess of parenthood and always remember you're doing an amazing job. This is your host, Neha Garg, signing off. Take care, stay kind to yourself, and we'll see you